Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, Block to Block. So we're fixing to do month 3 of the block of the month, the All Seasons quilt. And since it's March, Clover Leaf, St. Patty's Day, and what have you, this is the block we're going to be making. Now I wrote the pattern for this and I tested it using this and it came out perfect. It's a 12.5 inch unfinished block. It's really easy to do and it's a perfect scrap buster. You can see that I've got all the different scrappy fabrics in there. So it's perfect if you've got some scraps, get in your scrap bin and dig those out. And let's see if we can put it together. So for this block, you are going to need, let me get my notes. And the pattern, I will send it to Peggy. And if you're part of Peggy's quilting group, she will have it in the files there. If not, you can just write all this down. It's a really simple, easy block. So you will need 12 3.5 inch squares of your green fabric. And I've just cut some scraps that I had. So you need 12 of those. You will need 9 2.5 inch of background, whatever color background, squares. You will need 1 10 inch long by 1.5 inch wide strip of green. So one of those. So that's another good scrap deal. And then 1 7.5 inch square of background cut diagonally to make 2 triangles. Only cut it diagonally once because you want the 2 triangles. And that's it. That's all you need for this block. Super easy, super simple. So the first thing that we're going to work on is the leaf or the stem. Now you could applique this on if you wanted to applique it on, or you could do it this way, the way that I'm fixing to show you how to do it. Excuse me, good grief. All right, let me get you over here to the sewing machine. Okay, so we've got our strip and our 2 triangles. So what I'm going to do is fold these triangles in half and just take my finger and make a little crease right there so I know where the center is. And I'm going to do the same thing on the strip. That way we can get them pretty lined up. Because we are going to trim this down, but we need to have it all centered so that we can make sure we get enough out of it for our block. So then I'm going to take the first triangle, I'll lay this down, center this up, and we're going to sew 1/4 inch. You're going to have a little bit of hang off over each end. Don't worry about that. That's not a big deal. So 1/4 inch all the way down. And just make sure everything's lined up. Okay, and then I'm just gonna, you want to press this to the dark. I'm just gonna finger press it, and we'll take our other triangle and make the center mark so we know where it's at. All right, and then we're just gonna line these up. Make sure I could still see where that one was. I don't think that's right. I don't have it right. Let me remark it here. Didn't see it. There we go. Some of these fabrics, you know, when you mark them like that, it's kind of hard to see what you got going. And then we're just going to sew this down. Okay, and then we will press this to the dark. And I like to do it from the back first, then come to the front. Okay, we'll go over to the ironing board and we will get this pressed. Okay, so we're gonna give it a good pressing. Now we need to trim this down to 6.5 inches square. And the way I have a 6.5 inch square ruler, but if you don't, you can use a bigger ruler and just trim 2 sides, which I'm going to turn this anyway. You definitely want to use the diagonal line on your ruler. You're going to make that diagonal line go along with the center, roughly the center of the strip. Just make sure you watch the edges and that you have enough to trim off there on each side. That way you don't, because your block will come up short if you don't have that there. So we'll just trim this around. And then I've got 2 clean sides to trim from. Okay. There's that. And so then we have our stem done. All right. So the next thing that we're going to do is snowball some of our 3.5 inch squares with the 2.5 inch squares. So we need 9 of these. Ooh, let's see here. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And we'll set these other ones aside. And we're just going to snowball one corner. So I pressed my squares in half. So I had a sew line. You could draw the line. Or if you have diagonal seam tape, however you have it, whatever you want to use. And we're just going to go from the top corner down. I'll show you closer here on the sewing machine. All right, so we're going to line this up on one corner. And we're going to sew from this diagonal down to this diagonal on all 9 of them. And I'm just going to chain piece these. It makes it really easy. So I'll grab my next one. We'll add that on there. And it doesn't really matter what corner. I just did them all the same because you can turn the blocks however you want within the block. So okay, so once you have that done, then you're going to press this back and trim off any extra. And these units should still measure 3.5 by 3.5 square. Okay, so you'll have 9 of these little units. So next comes the layout, which is a little tricky. I had it kind of backwards the first time I did it, but it's not too bad. So your stem, this is the way I did it. I had all of my blocks to the left. So my stem went to the left, down to the right. And then for the bottom, let's see if I can get you guys a little closer. Okay, so for your bottom square, you're going to have one of your cornerstones with the white touching the white here. You're going to have another one with the cornerstone. The white is going to go down and to the left. All right, and then this one is going to be a solid square, and I'm going to use a different color right here. Then another cornerstone square, I guess you call it snowball, with the background going up and to the left. The next one's going to be down and to the left. And then this is going to be a solid square here and a solid square there. Then this row is going to go up and to the left. This row is going to go up and to the right, up and to the left. So you can see that they'll make that V. So you're going to have that V on all your corners there. The last one goes up and to the right, and then this one goes down, and the white touches the white here. And if you wanted to change any of these around, you know, if you have a couple that are the same, like these two are the same, and these, but I'm not going to worry about it because this is just what I had for my scraps. But you can see our clover leaf pattern. So the first thing that I'm going to do is sew these 2 rows together and attach them to each other, because this is going to become one unit, then the bottom part is going to become another unit, because we need to sew these together and sew them to that. So that's how I'm going to do these. All right, so I've got my first 2 pieces off of my top row, and I'm going to chain stitch these and just do them, you know, the first 2, the second 2, and then add and add and add. You'll see. So this is the first 2 blocks off of the very top row. These are the next 2 blocks off of the second row. And I'm going to leave them hooked together. That way nothing gets mixed up or turned around, because that has happened to me quite often. So I'm going to add the 3rd square. And to get these to nest, I am going to go ahead and just kind of fold this one seam the other way there. You don't have to, but it looks better. Alright, so then this is the second row. Alright, and then we're going to add the last square to these. And then attach, we'll sew these 2 rows together then. This will be our top unit. Now normally I like to take these and press these seams before I attach these rows, but these are batiks that I'm working with, and so they're really easy to kind of get where you want them to go. But since they're already attached, all I've got to do is just flip them together and sew the rows together. Easy peasy. And just make your seams nest whichever way you want them to go. Make sure everything's lined up. Okay, so that is our top row, and just remember your V, your background V here is going to go to the very, very top. So this is our bottom edge, so I'm just going to lay this over here. We'll press it in just a second, and then I'm going to bring these over, and we're going to make the 4-patch first. Okay, so we'll sew these two together. Leave that on there. We're going to sew these two together. Alright, and we'll open these up, and then we can sew them together to make our little 4-patch unit. Let me make sure that's lined up. Then I'm just going to kind of finger press this. Oh, I didn't get those very close there in the corners. I didn't nest those very good. That's all right. I think it'll be barely noticeable. So now we need to remember which way our block went. Goes like this. This solid square is going to go up to the upper right. So then when we bring our stem over here, this is the bottom part of our unit. We want to make sure our stem is going toward the inside. If you have it turned like this, it's going to be backwards because you know all the rest of our blocks are going to be up here. So we want it turned toward our 4-patch. Okay. The first one I did, I had to rip it apart because I did not have it turned that way. So we're just going to sew that down. And the 4-patch unit should measure 6.5, and so it should fit on there perfectly when you get it sewn. Because this is 6.5, and this should come out to be 6.5 square. So these two pieces should fit perfectly. Okay, so then I'm just going to press these before I attach them. All right, so, and I've got my stem going up, and I'm going to go ahead and give this one a press. Like I said, for me, you can do it however you want. You could all do it all after, but for me, if I do it now, it seems like I can just get everything to go together a whole lot easier. So there we go. So we'll just attach this to that. All right. And we'll have our block. And there's a few seams here you need to nest. Well, you don't need to, I mean, but you can. Let's just put it that way. You do it however you want. If you want your seams going all different crazy directions, you just knock yourself out. All right, there's our block. I just need to give it one final press, and it is done. The cute little clover leaf block. Okay, so there's our block. So I've got this one. I'm going to have to make some pillows because I've got two now. I made a test block. Made this one. It should finish out at 12.5 unfinished. 12-inch finish. So I think this turned out super cute. And would make an absolutely adorable table runner if you were to turn them all different directions. and do it for St. Patrick's Day. So anyway, there's our block. Like I said, the directions will be in the files on Peggy's quilting group. If you're not a member, check her out on Facebook, and let them know that you heard about her through YouTube, through my channel, and we'll make sure you get joined in. Pretty laid back group, great group actually. All right, there you guys go. So I hope you guys have a great St. Patrick's Day, and I will see you next month.